right, peace and blessings, blessings and peace. My name is Jormel Reese, and I am here on behalf of Karaji Yashar, and we are talking about the Violet Lighthouse book, man. An amazing book that is written by Karaji Yashar. Um, Man, when I tell you this book goes through a lot of ups and downs and different roller coasters, man. It's a must read book that you guys definitely have to be able to go and read. And so today, we're doing interview styles where we're talking to some of the people who have actually read this book. And so today I'm going to bring on Daniel, who actually read the book as well. So let's welcome Daniel on, man. Hey Daniel, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing amazing, brother. Doing amazing.
That's great. That's great.
First and foremost, like we were kind of just briefing a little bit before we got started. Let's talk about how you were able to meet Karaji and how you guys got into a relationship, far as the relationship and how it started.
Well, I met Karaja. I'm a teacher. I'm an early childhood educator. I teach preschool, and my first job was in New Brunswick. Karaja worked at the school with me, and like I was saying before, especially in the early childhood environment, it's heavy. A lot of females. Like there's not a lot of men there, so me and him were like two of the only guys there. So we connected. Talked about music, books, spirituality. Just we connected, and he even worked in my class for like I want to say about a good 6 months one year, and taught me how to play chess. New Brunswick is a very, for those who don't know, that's in New Jersey, and it's like a melting pot, like a lot of different restaurants, different cultures. So we used to go, one day go get Ethiopian food, one day get like some, Chinese food, or this, vegetarian, vegan food. And it was, we sparked a friendship, and he, introduced me to his family. He's got a great family, his mother, his sisters, a brother, all really cool people. And just kind of created a bond. And when he moved to Florida, we stayed in contact. I actually went to visit him. When I went to Disney with my daughter, we visited him then as well. And Karaj and I actually took a trip to Costa Rica a few years ago. So,
Okay.
and he kind of inspired me with his author and his publishing journey. I self-published and wrote a kid's book.
Okay.
So he kind of helped me. He was a mentor as far as like getting that off the ground. Anytime I had any questions as far as like the independent publishing grind, he was definitely someone I could call or FaceTime or Zoom. We had a couple Zoom calls where he like walked me through the process. So he's definitely a great friend and a brother, and I appreciate him. So most of his work before this book was like nonfiction stuff. So like I was really excited to dive into the Violet Lighthouse. So I was very excited to read it.
Okay, well, good. So yeah, since you took us there, what did just like, of course he I'm pretty sure he just reached out to you, told you, hey, he wrote this book, what I'm saying. And so what did, like, if you can really just go off into it without giving too much about the book, what did it kind of symbolize this? What did it symbolize for you reading that book?
To me, it just symbolized like a person's growth. Like the main character, Jaden, like you saw what he went through with the hurt at the beginning, and then like his, trying to find himself, and like, he kind of connected with the quote unquote conscious community. And, it from what I saw, I connected a lot of it to my own life. I also connected it to like, one of my favorite books of all time is the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Mhm.
So like it kind of connected, it kind of saw some similarities to that, because Jaden was like, he went through a lot of trauma, then he was trying to find himself, and then he kind of like ultimately had some bumps in the road along the way, met some people that might not have had his best interest, might not have had his, they weren't they weren't what they said they were. They were, and ultimately he, near the end of the book, he saw who really was supporting him, who really loved him, who really had his best interests. And, you know, I actually just turned 50 the other day. So like when I,
Congratulations.
thank you. When I was in my 20s, like I had similar things where you connect with people who say they're your friends. And I remember when I was younger, I would always say like, oh man, I'll take a bullet for my friends. I'll take a bullet from my friends. And like I would put my friends above my family sometimes. And
Man,
not to say that like I don't have friends that I consider family, because I do now, but a lot of those people who I quote unquote would take a bullet for wound up doing something foul to me, or like, kind of not having my best interest. So it's like, I saw that in Jaden, because Jaden was like really, he really was vested in a lot of people that weren't vested in him.
yeah. I mean, and I think that what you're saying is definitely something that I think a lot of people do today, you know what I'm saying? Just do period, in their lives. And so when you think about that, right? Like how relevant is this book, and far as like how relevant it is far as like with the relationships that we have nowadays, you know what I'm saying? Like how relevant is this book for people to be able to actually grab and see, and how it can help them change?
I think it's very relevant, because like, and I was talking to Karaja, because I was raised Catholic. I would consider myself a spiritual person. I believe in God. I don't go to church, but so even though there is a strong religious message, um, I didn't I didn't dislike it, but I still was able to connect with, like you said, with the journey that Jaden went through. And I think that a lot of people, especially a lot of young people, because I know Karaja was working with some, younger gentlemen that might have been in the system or been in trouble. And I feel like that a book like this, if it gets in their hands, can really help them and say, I made some mistakes in my life, but this can put me back on track, put me on the right track. Really think about who has my, who loves me, who supports me, because a lot of people in their late teens or early 20s, or even some people in their 30s, they might push back against family members or people who really are looking out for them and kind of go in the wrong direction. So I think a book like this can really like open their eyes and make them see like, oh man, like I've been messing up. I think I gotta, I gotta give my sister a call, or my brother or my father, like,
Yeah.
like they've been looking out for me, and look what I've been doing this whole time. So I think a book like this can really, really help a lot of people of all ages, but a lot of young people especially.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially like you said, it's like a lot of pushback if you're going
Mm,
through that stage in life, because I think we all go through that stage in life where we rebel against what we were taught. And
mm-hmm,
then what we realize is that, and I know for me, I can only speak for myself, it all comes around full circle. And you
mm-hmm.
find, what I'm saying, I think we all need to find our own way, what I'm saying? So what outside of Jaden, right? What probably like was your favorite character, or your character that you could relate to in the book?
I would say John, his brother-in-law,
Okay.
because I liked him because, I think there was another gentleman earlier on in the book named Bernard. Bernard was kind of like older and like more like when Jaden was kind of messing up, Bernard wasn't having it.
Yeah.
And like, kind of was like, you can't stay here. You got to get out of my house. But John wasn't a punk. John wasn't gonna let like Jaden do whatever he wants. Like I know like there was a scene where like Jaden was staying with John and Trinity, and they set the ground rules. They would let him know he can do this, can't do that. But John like John reminded me of me, because especially like I said, being 50, like I feel like I'm a lot calmer. Feel like I'm a great listener through my travels as a teacher. I think I have a lot of patience because being an educator, I became very patient. Even I was on a flight. I just came back from Hawaii, and I was sitting next to this woman. She's like, and she talked to me almost the whole flight, and she's like, you have like you have like a monk like essence to you, like which I appreciated. And like I feel like I was like John was like that. John was like always checking in on him, and if Jaden would say some stuff that didn't align with John's beliefs, he would check him, but in a respectful way, and
Yeah.
and still be supportive and loving. And like when depending on what, if Jaden had stuff going on, like, oh, he was starting his certain businesses or certain hustles or what have you, like John will wish him well. He wouldn't be like, John. I think there was a couple parts where you could tell John was a little bit skeptical of it, but still, hey man, I wish you well. Wish you the best, brother. I hope everything goes well. So I feel like I'm that way. Like I'm a good listener. I'm a very supportive person, and I'm not, I'm not gonna let someone walk over me. So I feel like I saw a lot of myself in John.
Most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely. That's a good way of that's a good way of looking at John. Even me reading the book, like how you're talking about John, is actually a really good perspective of it, because he didn't, like you said, he didn't judge him, but he didn't let him run over him. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
He let him be whoever he wanted to be, but he didn't let him change his perspective, or he didn't let him run his household either
Hmm.
at the same time. So Jaden kind of like it seemed like Jaden was like in space with John. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know how to figure John out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really good perspective on how you're looking at things. So how did your perspective of Jaden change from the beginning of the book to the end of the book?
Um, I would say, like, I've seen a lot of Jadens in my life, and we're talking with Courage about the book. He a lot of this was based on like personal experiences that he's seen people. So I felt bad for him at first, because he had some trauma, he had some family stuff going on, and then you know um I feel like he was trying to find himself, but he was trying to find like the quick ways, I don't want to give too much up about the book, but he wanted to do things, but he didn't do it the right way. It's like almost like you want to become an NBA player, but you haven't even made your high school team yet. Like I feel like he was trying to rush things, and he's calling himself like a healer, and he because I know a lot of people that do alternative medicine, but they have a lot of schooling and knowledge, and not just Googling things. They've been to workshops, seminars, got certified. Like I feel like he was rushing to like do things, and it showed, because a lot of times he found himself in a bind. Like it reminded me, it kind of reminded me, a lot of scenes reminded me of I don't know if you ever saw the movie Half Baked with Dave Chappelle,
Oh
when
yeah, 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 yeah,
when he
yeah.
went out on a date, and he was like, every time he spent money, with like the amount of money popped up on the screen. And I think
Yeah.
there was actually a funny scene where there was like a blind guy, like a blind homeless guy trying to get money, and he actually took the money out of his
Yeah.
cup.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's how
yeah.
I felt with Jaden. Every time he was like taking a girl on a date, or like anytime things were happening in his life, he's like, I gotta think about Uber. I gotta think about eating. So he wasn't putting the work in, but and it was showing in his life. So there was that. But I feel like, and then he made the mistake and started doing some bad things, and the bad things were kind of like how can I say, like a quick fix to his problems. But then
Yeah.
obviously that didn't last long, and then once he got on the right track, things started happening good for him. So I feel like it was good to see his journey. It was good to see his journey. Like there was parts I felt bad for him during the middle when he was going through all the things, but at the same time I was like shaking my head, like, come on, man. Like he was making a lot of mistakes, and he was being influenced by a lot of these people at the Violet Lighthouse. Unfortunately, it didn't have his best interests. So like I said, it was like a roller coaster. And the thing I liked about the book, and again, like being Courage's first dive into the fiction thing, I like books where like at the end of the chapter you're like, oh, man, I want to see what happens next. So,
Yeah.
and that's how this book was. It was like at the end of every chapter, I was like, oh, I want to see what happens in the next chapter. So it was very well written. He wrote it. He did a real good job with Jaden's journey.
You sound like kind of like how I was and how I've been talking to a lot of the people that's been reading the book. Like, man, like after I got done reading something, I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I had to set aside time to make sure that nobody was bothering me at certain times so I could be able
Mm.
to actually read this book because I wanted to. It was a page turner. It was one of those things.
And
And
I could say, yeah, I was not to cut you off.
no,
I'm
no, you
looking at
good. Go ahead.
the book now. I think it's what 400, a little bit over 400, like 420 pages. I
Hmm.
think I finished the book in a few days.
Wow.
Because I just kept going. Like usually I read in the morning, like that's like part of my routine. I'll read, but I kept, like you said, I kept finding myself wanting to go back to it. So I kept like making time in the afternoon, making time in the evening, and I was like, I wanted to finish it. And I do see I see you got the hard cover version, right?
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I just got the paperback. I got to talk to Courage about that. I want to
Oh
see what
yeah.
that's what's up, man. You got it's shining. It looks nice.
Yeah, it is. And that's, you know what? To be real with you, like it is a really good like book. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, I'm like, okay, you know, I know he did this. You know what I'm saying? Like he sends me books. He sends me books about everything that he's been doing since I met him. Like we share books and stuff like this. But
Mm,
it's like, man, to know somebody that did this book, yeah, like I know the guy who wrote this book.
exactly. And
You know,
same thing. Like through his journey with I know it was his publishing is what Black Scribe Press now,
yeah,
right?
yep,
But I know I had other names like through his journey with the publishing. He's occasionally I've bought a few books, but he's also sent me some like hey, I want you to check this out. But a lot of it was like stuff that he was kind of like publishing, but he might not have written, or it was
yeah,
something nonfiction, like it was something more knowledge based. And not to say this isn't knowledge based, but to have this, it's like he calls it a spiritual saga. Like it was a real saga. It was a real, and I could see it as like a movie, like the way when I was like, as I was reading it, I was like picturing the characters in my head. So it was
yeah,
definitely very, very, very interesting and a very good book.
yeah, for sure. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit. I wanted to ask you, so was it moments in this book that made you reflect on your own spiritual path and or your own sense of purpose?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I feel like a lot of things that he was going through while he was at the Violet Lighthouse kind of made me think about my 20s. And not to say I got into a lot of trouble, but like I said, I connected with friends that didn't have people that didn't have my best interest, people that were kind of leading me down a wrong path. And I kind of saw that in me and Jaden. So, and like when it came down to it, like like when just like for instance, like when he got in his trouble, Patrice, not Patrice, Trinity, his sister,
Yeah,
she was like the first one to go see, she was the one that really was like there for him. And like I know like my family, as far as like my parents, my brother, like even though I went through the times where I would put my friends above my family, I saw as I got older, like those are the people that really supported me. Like if I was having trouble, whether it's financial trouble or any kind of personal trouble, those are the people that were going to love me and support me and help me with my problems. And like I said earlier, there are friends that I do count on now, but it's like you get older, you get wiser,
yeah,
and I think Jaden saw that too. It wasn't just his family; like he was connecting with he connected with Amy and Caleb, and those people kind of really were supporting him. Where some of the other characters, like the energy or like Pharaoh really upset me, and I think we've all had a friend like Pharaoh who's like, they hang around with you, but once if you're in a bind or you're in trouble, they're nowhere to be found. And that's how Pharaoh was. So, we all know some pharaohs. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I did see a lot of things that I went through that Jaden went through. And as far as the spiritual side, like I said, we were uh different paths. Like I'm a spiritual guy. I connect with a. I think there was a character named Sonia, and I liked her because she was steadfast. She was steadfast in her beliefs, and she said to him, because that was the one thing about Jaden. Jaden got really amped up about his when he was in the conscious community, where he was like, if anyone believed differently than him, he wanted to have a
He wanted
heated
to
debate.
challenge him. Yeah.
And it's like I'm the type of person that's why I feel like I I can be in a room with someone who's a follower of Christ, someone who's a Buddhist, someone who might be consider themselves a Hebrew Israelite, a Rastafarian, a Hindu, and I could learn from all of them and respect their beliefs. And you know, I feel Jaden probably would get to that point where he might be more respectful, but when he was in the conscious community, he just wanted to scream at everybody. And that was another thing I liked about John. Like when every time he challenged John would hit him with knowledge, but he wouldn't do it like in an angry way or like get out of my house. Like he was there to like kind of give him some knowledge and still give him the love and support. So that's So
Yeah.
that was a lot of information there. But yeah, basically I did connect a lot with Jaden's journey and his growth, spiritual growth, and his just growth overall.
Yeah. I think sometimes, and it's just, like you said, I'm like how you are. I could be in a room with anybody from any different background and belief or whatever it is, because at the end of the day, it's one energy here, and it's what I'm saying, and it's all good. It's all
Mm,
good, it's all God. What I'm saying, and
yep, yep,
however you get there is your walk. That's how I look at
exactly.
it. Definitely. Let me ask you this. So with that being said, like you said, it's not just like you said, it's not just a religious book. It's not just this religion or the conscious community, this, and this. It's about merging those two worlds together. How do you think we can get to a place where we can kind of like merge these worlds together? Because it's all truth, you know what I'm saying? And it's all about
Mm.
how an individual interprets these things and how they take
Mm.
it into their life. So how do you think that this can be able to get to any type of person who's going through any type of the conscious, the Christianity, or the Rastafarians? How do you think this can be able to help all these cultures be able to come together?
Um, how would this book be able to
Yeah,
get them to?
yeah, for sure.
Um, that's a good question. Like I said, but if everyone can kind of see, I don't know how to get to that spot, to that journey, to that destination, but if everyone had the same mindset like you and I, they can take from this book. And you know, I think people can read it and they can appreciate the spiritual and the religious message, but at the same time take from it like the jewels, the messages, the Jaden's journey, the ups and downs, and appreciate it. Where it could be, you know, like I said, I saw a lot of connections in Malcolm X, especially when he would, I don't want to throw a lot of spoilers, but I mean I hope I can say this, but like
Yeah.
Jaden had a brief incarceration, and just like Malcolm X obviously did a lot more some more illegal stuff at one point than Jaden might have. But when they both had a similar journey where they had some trauma in their life, they made some mistakes, they wound up incarcerated. And Malcolm, he found solace in Islam, and that kind of got him on a path of righteousness and positivity and positive, more doing something more positive with his life. Jaden, it brought him back to where he was prior to his trauma. And I think that like I said, it has a message. It has a message, and it has the religious part sprinkled in it, but you can still appreciate the message no matter what belief system you have, in my opinion. Because like I said, I respect Christ, and I don't consider myself a Christian, but I respect all religions. So like the religious the religious part of the book, I appreciated it, despite
Yeah.
having a maybe not the same exact belief system. So I think if we can all, like, if we can get to that point where, hey, I can pick up a book based on a Jewish story or based on a Buddhist story, and get jewels from it. So I think
Yeah.
if you have that mind state, you're gonna appreciate this book.
Hey, that's real talk. That's real
Yeah.
talk. The jewels is all that matter. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
what you walk away with. And so with that being said, this is my last question. I'm gonna ask you.
Okay.
If if somebody was thinking about picking up this book, what would you tell them? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, be ready for a great story, great characters. Like I said, it's one of those books, like I said, where you're gonna want to finish it in a few days. Like I said, I finished it in a few days. That's why, like I think, not to put my laundry out there, but I had to pause with you. I had to delay our interview a couple times because I was like, I wanted to skim through it again because I read it so quick. I was like, I gotta summarize it again. Like I definitely want to read. And when I was like flipping through the pages, I'm like, I want to read this again. Like it's definitely a book you want to go back to. So I would say, it's a great message. It's a great story. It's well written. Like, not to go off on another tangent, but there was a scene where Jaden took mushrooms, and I've never taken mushrooms before, but it was so well written and so descriptive. I actually called. I don't know if I called him or texted him, but I was like, man, I felt like I was on mushrooms when I was reading it because it was so descriptive. I was like, it's extremely well written. It's like, and it's a page turner, something that you're gonna want to keep reading, and you appreciate the journey that Jaden goes through. So, and like I said earlier in the interview, I think it's something that if someone's going through something, or like, there's, fortunately, we have a lot of young men and women that are, trying to find their way and might be making wrong decisions in the system somehow. I think this book can really benefit them, and help them and be a positive light to spark change in them. So
Yeah.
that's definitely, it's definitely worth picking up for all walks of life.
Most definitely, most definitely. And so, man, and with that being said, Daniel, I really want to thank you for your time. Appreciate you. This was well worth the wait that we had to, you know what I'm saying? Like I really appreciate it, man. It
Yeah.
was real, this is a good conversation.
Yeah, I
Seriously.
appreciate I appreciate building with you, man. It was definitely a good conversation, like you said, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me as well.
Absolutely. So, you know what I'm saying? With that being said, we want to definitely recommend this book, man. Recommend The Violet Lighthouse. Make
Wow.
sure you go get it. We're going to leave the links inside of this actual interview so you could be able to go get it. You can go get it off of Amazon or different places where books are being sold at. And we'll leave the link in here so you could be able to go and get it. All right. So, till next time, it's the boy Joamel Reese signing off with my man Daniel. Appreciate
Yep.
you again. We're here for Black Scribe Publishing. Karaji Yashar, man, appreciate you and hope you guys have a blessed day. Have a good one.
Yep.
All right, cool. We good.